Welcome to 10-Minute Zuimonki. Dōgen taught, saying, "The attitude of a person of the way is different from that of an ordinary person. During the time of the late Eisai, abbot of Kenninji, the monastic community was suffering from a shortage of food. One day a patron invited the abbot and presented him with a bolt of silk. The abbot was greatly pleased. Without giving it to anyone else, he tucked it inside his robe, carried it back to the monastery, and said to the steward, 'Use this for tomorrow morning's meal.' At that very time, however, a message arrived from a layman. 'I am ashamed to ask this, but I am in need of a few pieces of silk. If the monastery happens to have any surplus cloth, I would be deeply grateful to receive some.' Without hesitation, the abbot instructed the steward to bring back the silk and gave it to the man in need. Both the steward and the monks of the community were astonished by what they saw. Some time later, the abbot said, 'Perhaps all of you think I acted improperly, but I believe that those gathered in this monastery are people aspiring to realize the Buddha way. You should not be distressed if for a single day you have nothing to eat, even if it should mean going hungry. But when a layperson suffers from want, and you have the opportunity to relieve that suffering, each of you will gain far greater benefit from helping that person than from preserving a single day's meal for yourselves. Even if, by doing so, you must give up your own food for a day, the merit and benefit are greater.' This is how a person of the way considers such matters," Dōgen said. Today's passage tells a story about Eisai, the founder of the Rinzai tradition in Japan, and one of the most influential Buddhist teachers of his time. The story begins during a period of hardship. The monks at Kenninji were suffering from a shortage of food. Supplies were scarce and the monastery was struggling. One day, a supporter invited Eisai to his home and offered him a valuable piece of silk. Naturally, everyone was pleased. At last, the monastery had received something of value. Eisai brought the silk back and instructed the steward to use it to help provide the next morning's meal. That seems reasonable enough. The monks were hungry. The monastery was poor. The silk could be exchanged for food. Problem solved. But then something unexpected happened. A layman sent a message to the monastery. Embarrassed by his circumstances, he explained that he was in need and wondered whether the monastery might have some spare silk to give him. Without hesitation, Eisai ordered that the silk be returned and given to the layman. The monks were astonished. After all, they were the ones who lacked food. They were the ones facing hardship. Why give away the very thing that might help them? Later Eisai explained himself. He said that those gathered in the monastery were pursuing the Buddha way. If necessary, they should be willing to endure a day without food. They should even be prepared to face hunger for the sake of practice. But a layperson suffering from poverty and distress deserved immediate help. According to Eisai, relieving another person's suffering brought greater benefit than securing one more meal for oneself. This story can sound shocking. Most of us would probably have made the opposite decision. We would have reasoned, first we must take care of ourselves. Once our needs are met, then we can help others. That seems sensible, and in many situations it is. Yet Eisai is pointing toward a different perspective. He is asking, what is the purpose of Buddhist practice? Is it simply to preserve our own comfort? Or is it to cultivate a heart capable of responding to suffering wherever it appears? The monks saw a piece of silk and thought about food. Eisai saw a suffering human being. The object was the same. What differed was the perspective. This is one of the recurring themes in Dōgen's teachings. The person of the way sees things differently. Not because they possess special powers, not because they are morally superior, but because they are less concerned with themselves. Most of us naturally view the world through the lens of our own needs. My problems, my comfort, my security, my plans. And there is nothing unusual about that. It is simply how the self-centered mind operates. The way invites us to widen that perspective, to ask not only what do I need, but also what does the situation need? Those are not always the same question. What I find especially interesting is Eisai's confidence in the monks. He does not pity them. He does not treat them as fragile. He assumes they are capable of enduring hardship. Why? Because they have chosen the life of practice. The Buddha's teachings often remind us that human beings are capable of much more than they imagine. We are often stronger than we think, more resilient than we think, more capable of generosity than we think. Eisai trusts that the monks can survive one difficult day. What concerns him more is the opportunity to act compassionately. And perhaps this is the deepest lesson of the story. The question is not merely who is hungry. The question is what kind of hunger we are trying to satisfy. Physical hunger is real. It matters. But there is another kind of hunger as well. The hunger of self-concern. The hunger that always wants more security, more comfort, more assurance. That hunger is never satisfied. The more we feed it, the more it demands. Compassion moves in the opposite direction. It asks us to look beyond ourselves, to recognize the needs of others, to loosen our grip on what we think belongs to us. And in doing so, something surprising happens. We discover a freedom that self-protection can never provide. At the end of the passage, Dōgen says, "This is how a person of the way considers things. Not according to immediate gain, not according to personal advantage, but according to what genuinely relieves suffering." So perhaps the question this story leaves us with is simple. When resources are limited, when life becomes difficult, and when we cannot satisfy every need, what comes first? Our comfort or our compassion? Eisai's answer is clear. A person of the way does not measure every situation by what benefits themselves. They look first to where suffering can be eased, and then they act. Thank you for listening. Until next time.